All right, it's official. We have owned this car for 1 whole year now. We have put 16,000 miles on this car. We have tuned it with 3 different companies so far, and we have definitely put a good bit of mods on the car as well. So today's video, we're gonna be going over just the positives, the negatives, and some things that we may change or some things that, you know, we're super happy with. So we'll hop right into this video. I just wanted to say thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you enjoy it. If you do, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Now let's hop right into this video. Alright, so as you can see right there, we are at 34,090 miles. I purchased this car at 18,000 miles. It was like 18,032 miles or something like that, exactly this day last year. So in our first year of ownership, we have put 16,000 miles on this car. And out of all 16,000 miles, we have never had any issue whatsoever. Only thing that we ever had happen was we blew off a charge pipe whenever I installed my intercooler, and that was obviously self-inflicted. Also, my spark plugs had to be changed out at one point in time because they were starting to go bad on me, but that's expected. That's just simple maintenance stuff. So realistically, nothing detrimental has happened to this car yet since I've owned it, and knock on wood, nothing does happen. I also really like the interior of this car. Even though it's quite simple, it's a very nice interior for what it is, especially for the price point. There are definitely a couple things about this interior that I do not love though, that's for sure, and I think we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. Alright, so let's talk about some of the other positives and negatives about owning this car so far. One positive is it is a 4-cylinder, it's a hatchback, it's technically a little sporty car, but insurance companies don't generally recognize it as that. So over this past year, the insurance has been very cheap, and that's always a huge bonus whenever you're car shopping. Insurance is obviously always going to be a factor into your payments that you're going to be doing monthly. One thing that I do not like about this interior, as I mentioned earlier, is it just makes so much noises, guys. I mean, we, and don't get me wrong, have probably caused it to make these noises, but you don't buy a GTI normally just to keep it stock. You know, most people want to modify them, whether or not that's just suspension and wheels, or if that's full on, you're going for power or whatever it is, you know. Generally, you're inducing a lot more, or introducing a lot more vibrations to the car's chassis. And that being said, the car is going to kind of shake loose on some areas. You're not going to be having quite the sound and quiet ride that you had whenever you first got your car once you start modifying. And I know that it's partially due to like exhaust vibrations as well as just road vibrations and whatnot. So that is one thing. The car was super quiet whenever I first got it, and I really liked that about it. But now that we've you know, gotten our hands on it, it's not quite as quiet anymore. So that is one negative about this car. And there's a few things like this headliner up here, I don't know, but this thing up here, it just wants to like make this little creaking noise, and then it feels like my glove box never shuts up either. Either way, just way too much noise coming out of this car. But that is my major negative about this car. It doesn't get great gas mileage. Obviously, I do run a pops and bangs tune, but whenever I go on long road trips, I don't turn on my pops and bangs. I just am driving in regular, you know, without any overrun on. So it still doesn't get wonderful gas mileage. It doesn't get bad gas mileage whatsoever, but it's just a relatively small vehicle. I expected it to get a little bit better, but I also don't always drive, you know, the most respectfully. So let's kind of break down tunes. So originally we were with Unitronic, and we went stage 2 with them, all right? Currently we are with SneekyTuned, and we are pro tuned with them, so. Got that little pull out of the way. Put up these windows for you. So we were originally tuned with Unitronic. We went stage 2 with them basically the same day that we got our car. We went in ahead, put our downpipe in, did an airbox modification, went stage 2 with them. later on, once we ended up doing a front mount intercooler, we decided we wanted to go Pro Tune route, and we originally obviously picked up the Cobb access port. I did run the Cobb tunes just for a little bit. I will go in ahead and tell you, if you're considering Cobb versus Unitronic, go Unitronic, but obviously Cobb has more potential because you can get Pro Tune through that platform. So we did go eventually to the SneekyTuned, and we started off with just an off-the-shelf tune, and now we are running a custom tune. And I'll go in and tell you, the off-the-shelf tune felt absolutely amazing, and honestly the Pro Tune just feels even better. I have the ability to run an E30 or 93 octane. That's what I've set up for right now. And in the future, we are planning on going with a bigger turbo. Now, what turbo we're gonna go with, we still have not decided. I've been considering between the Garrett Power Max that they're offering. I think it's the 20 something. I'm not exactly sure what the name of it is. I'm not gonna state it, but it's the new Garrett turbo that's out for our car. I think it's good for around 500 wheel horsepower. So, been considering that one, or we've been looking at like a TPC 20 or even a Vortex Standard. So we are definitely considering all of those options. We are not decided on any of them. We were originally just planning to go IS38, but you know what? If you're gonna spend the money, you might as well just spend a couple hundred more, and you could still go a hybrid turbo without going MPI and everything like that. And you, won't get as much of it out of it as you would with MPI, but you can still break that 400 wheel horsepower mark on just pump gas. So that's why we're gonna be doing that. And also, we are getting ourselves lost right now. That is most likely going to be the route that we will be choosing, is going with a hybrid turbo setup. Hello, police officer. That is my main takeaway about the tunes. Unitronic, good tune, just not the most powerful tune. It definitely was not a weak tune by any means. Going from stock to Unitronic Stage 2, I mean, it was mind-blowing how much more power it came. But whenever I found out that you could still have the exact same supporting hardware and get even more power out of it with just a little bit, more fine-tuning, I should say. Not even necessarily better tuning, just more fine-tuning. And that's the route that we have chosen now, and we're making some pretty good power, and it's a lot more fun. The power band's very, very usable, and it's just a blast to drive this car all the time. That's why we've put 16,000 miles on it in the past year, even throughout COVID. This car, whenever I first got it, was the suspension. Now, not necessarily the way it rode. I thought that it drove pretty decent, but I just wasn't a fan of the look. It had some serious monster truck status out of the factory. So one of the first things that we did do was lower this car, and we have lowered this car on two different types of suspension. We originally were on lowering springs on this car, and we definitely achieved the look that we were going for, but the ride was not terrible. It just wasn't great either. We did go on the iBox Sportline lowering springs, which are some of the lowest lowering springs that you can get on, but nonetheless, it just simply was so bouncy whenever you get off a bump, and also it really dove into curves really hard. It just did not handle very great overall, to be quite honest with you. And so we ended up deciding we were going to switch it out, and we went for some coilovers. We ended up switching out those lowering springs for some BC Racing coilovers, and it is a very big difference. Not only is just the fine tunability there, where you can really adjust and decide how you want this car to ride, but you can also dictate the height to the millimeter, and it's just a really nice thing to be able to do that. You get a lot more travel out of your suspension that way, and you get to really set it up the exact way that you want it. You don't just have to settle for the way that the springs settle. Some pretty loud pops. Big flame right there. So So that's my 1 year review. If I could change anything from it, I probably would have honestly just gone coilovers first instead of ever doing lowering springs, because that was kind of just a waste of money, even though I was able to sell them later on and kind of regain that. But either way, definitely would have just gone straight to coilovers, and honestly, I probably would have just gone straight to SneekyTuned as well. I would have saved the money whenever I went to Unitronic, since I did end up going that custom Pro Tune route. Unitronic's now just sitting on the shelf. There's nothing I can do with it. So those are my main takeaways for my first year of ownership. If you've been considering getting a GTI, absolutely do it. You will not be disappointed. It's a great car, a whole lot of fun. Just make sure that you're ready for a few little Volkswagen issues. You know, it sometimes comes factory with check engine light and whatnot, but it's nothing to worry about. Either way, hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button, let YouTube know that you did, and also smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're trying to grow this as fast as we can, as big as we can, and we can't do it without your support. So make sure you smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.